I have washed my plate, madam, a middle-aged man said from the queue. I came before this woman you are attending to. I have been here for over 30 minutes now. What is happening? Or don't you want to serve for me? An angry woman exclaimed, holding her plate. Here is my plate, another man shouted, stretching his plate from behind towards Bose, the food seller. Those were the sounds coming from Bose's shop one sunny Friday afternoon. Many years ago, in the land of Ido, there lived a woman named Bose who sells food at the entrance of the market. All the villagers loved her food so much that they would rather buy her food than to eat in their own house, even when there was food at home. To the extent that other food sellers started to wonder why everyone preferred Bose's food to theirs, despite the fact that she was very rude to her customers. Bose would shout at her customers and tell them that if they know that they can't be patient for her to attend to them, they should go rather than stress her. Sometimes, when things became overwhelming for her, she would stop selling and request that all her customers must be well seated before she would start attending to them again. One thing that was strange about Bose's shop was that though she had so many customers, she had no sales girl or assistant in her busy shop. With the long queue of people that came to her shop on a daily basis, she was the only one that attended to them. Customers would devour her food immediately it finally got to their turn, lick the plates, and thank her for the good job she was doing for the villagers. But things had not always been so with Bose and her food business from the beginning. There was a time that Bose would cook her food and no one would buy from her. She would end up eating her food and warming it up for the next day. As the cycle continued. Although she was a good cook, she never really understood why she wasn't really selling as she ought to. But she kept hoping that one day things would change and get better, but things never did. She would come to her shop and sit alone all day, with only few customers patronizing her. She would cry, wondering where she had gone wrong. It was on one of the many days of Bose's lack of sales, as she held her cooler with one hand and walked down a lonely path. She preferred to take the lonely route that day in order for her to cry and get lost in her thoughts without villagers looking at her, cause most villagers rarely took that route. That evening, Bose's countenance was visibly sad. Her mouth was moving, but her voice was inaudible. Bose was lost in thoughts as she thought about her food business and the setback and loss she had experienced despite being a good cook. There was a bad spot everyone was aware of in that lonely path Bose took, hence passers-by were always careful while walking along that path. However, Bose continued to walk without looking, lost in her thoughts that she fell inside the ditch. She was in great pain and sustained a minor injury. While she was trying to get out of the small ditch, an old woman touched her. Bose nearly passed out because she never knew someone was walking behind her all along. She was surprised because while walking down the lonely path, she had always looked back once or twice and she was sure that she was the only one walking down the road. "I can help you," the old woman whispered to Bose. "Help me? How?" Bose thought. How did she know I have a problem? Who is this woman? Bose imagined, visibly shaking with fear. Good evening, Mama," Bose stammered, looking at the old woman with fear. "Good evening, my daughter," the old woman replied. "I can help you," she said again. "Your food business is not moving, and you have been asking yourself a lot of questions lately as to what to do to start making sales. I can help you get all the villagers to buy your food and become your permanent customers," she concluded. Bose did not believe her as she doubted the old woman in her heart, but managed to bring herself to asking the old woman how possible it was, and that if it was possible, she was very much interested. The old woman told her that she was going to give her time to think about it, and that if she was still interested to find out how, she should come to this place by this time next Friday, the old woman said as she walked away. Bose watched the old woman closely as she left. It seemed as though she just woke up from a dream, but she knew it wasn't a dream. What does she mean by she can make the whole villagers buy from me? Why is she sounding so powerful? What is her secret recipe? These questions and more ran through Bose's mind as she trekked home. That night, Bose could not sleep as a new level of worry and anxiety eroded her sleep. This anxiety she was experiencing was different from the ones she had experienced in the past. She was curious. She wanted her business to boom, and so wanted the help of the old woman so badly that she wished that the next day was Friday. But Friday was still 7 days away, so she started counting down to Friday. The next day, Bose decided to stay at home instead of going to her shop. Why go to the shop when I know I won't sell? Why waste my time and energy in futility? So, Bose channeled all her energy to preparing for the all-important meeting with her helper. The days became long and the nights even longer as she waited for the day to come. Bose woke up very early on Friday morning, excited as she sang and prepared for the shop. She still maintained her cheerful mood even when it was only few people that came to patronize her in her shop as usual. She was still overjoyed and told herself that nothing was going to take her joy or spoil her mood that day. She was unbothered about her sales as she waited patiently for evening to come in order for her to go meet the old woman. When it was evening, Bose quickly closed her shop as she rushed to the spot she had seen the old woman the other day as they had agreed. What if the old woman doesn't show up? What if the old woman was just playing on her intelligence? Bose increased her pace as a lot of what if were running through her mind. As she approached the spot, Bose saw the woman sitting under a tree. Excited, she ran quickly to greet the old woman. "Are you ready?" the old woman inquired with a calm and steady voice. "Yes, Mama. In fact, I was born ready," Bose said boldly. "Slow down. Don't say what you don't mean," the old woman cautioned Bose. "I mean everything I just said, Mama, as long as it will bring me plenty of customers." "Are you sure?" the old woman questioned. "Yes, Mama. If I am not interested, then why am I here? I am 100% ready." "Then follow me," the old woman told Bose, as Bose immediately followed the old woman. The old woman led Bose into the bush. As they walked a good distance into the bush, the old woman stopped abruptly, as though she was told to. Bose stood behind her. She was afraid, but her mind was made up. There was no turning back now, she said to herself. The old woman brought out a knife. Bose became really scared and asked the old woman what she was doing with a knife. "I will cut your leg with this knife. When you get home, do not apply anything on it. Gradually, the cut will grow into a big sore which no one else is allowed to see." The old woman promised Bose that if she could adhere to all the instructions given to her, she would be shocked by the outcome. She also assured Bose that she shouldn't worry, that she wouldn't feel any pain in her legs, and that the sore was just a link to assess her weight. The old woman instructed her that whenever she wanted to cook, she should wash her cut, which will eventually grow into a sore, into a bowl, and then use the water to do the cooking, and no one should be there while she does her cooking and perform the acts. As the days went by, the cut grew into a big sore, And as Bose adhered to all the instructions given to her by the old woman, Bose's customers grew. Bose was overjoyed and glad that her once deserted shop was now the busiest shop in the whole of Idoland, and soon Bose developed hate and resentment for her customers because she knew that if it hadn't been for the help of the old woman, her shop would still be empty and deserted. She would shout at her customer and insult them at the slightest provocation. Yet, the customers were unshakable. They would still stand there and beg her to please forgive them and sell for them. As the news of Bose's delicious food spread across Idoland, Bose's customers grew even more, and with time, things became tedious and overwhelming for her. She would wake up very early in the morning and prepare all the food she would be selling at her shop that day alone, and then proceed to her shop where she would meet anxious customers already waiting for her. And so she would swing into action in attending to the customers one after the other, till in the evening when she would go home tired and exhausted. With this, she knew that if she wanted to live long and enjoy the money she was making, she needed help and assistance, even if it was against the old woman's wish. So she sat up one night to think of what to do to reduce her stress. And then she decided that she would employ someone who would assist her only in the shop, and then she would continue to prepare her food alone. Bose always wore flowing gowns and skirts to cover her sore from the eyes of villagers, and so no one knew. With the help of Bose's new assistant, Abike, things became a lot more easier for Bose. Though Abike was a sales girl, she never took part in the cooking or followed her home, although she knew her house. It was a very terrible night for Abike as her mother became very sick and could barely sleep all through the night. When it was close to dawn, Abike ran to Bose's house in order to take permission from Bose and to inform her of her mother's current health situation and that she would not be able to make it to shop that day. She passed through the backyard of Bose's house, and what she saw shocked her to the bones. She quickly hid herself to see all that was happening. Bose was washing her leg with soap inside a cooking pot and then transferring the water to other cooking pots, which was eventually used in preparing the meal. Abike tiptoed away to avoid Bose discovering her as her heart pounced and raced simultaneously. Abike went home, took her sick mother to the hospital, and pondered on what she had seen, fear gripping her, uncertain of who she would tell and how they would take it. But she knew that something had to be done very fast. She confided in one of the chiefs in Idoland, who was one of Bose's regular customers. He was shocked. "Are you sure of what you are telling me?" "Yes, sir," Abike replied confidently. Chief Bolaji took Abike to the council of chiefs, where she narrated all that she saw as they looked at one another in disbelief. "Do you know the gravity of what you just told us?" Elder Toby stood up, asking Abike. "Young girl, if we find that you lied to us, you would be banished from this village for good," another chief said, still in shock and denial. "Sir, I am not lying. If you think I am lying, I can take you to the place tomorrow morning so that you can see with your own eyes." The council of chiefs decided that they would send delegates to go there tomorrow morning to confirm if all that Abike had said was true. So the next day, Abike took the three chiefs to Bose's house, and she took them through the back of the house. And to their greatest surprise, Bose was washing her sore in a pot, and after washing it, she started using the water to cook. The chiefs came out from their hidings and dragged her to the king's palace. As Bose was dragged to the king's palace, news had quickly spread all through Idoland of the atrocities of Bose. People came out from their various houses as they booed Bose, throwing things at her. Women who had been jealous and thought they had lost their husband to Bose cheered the crowd as they marched and sang to the palace. When they got to the palace, the king was told all the evil deeds of Bose as she knelt before him, crying and bowing her head in shame. The king made a declaration that Bose be banished from the village and taken to the evil forest. The people of Ido rejoiced as they escorted her out of the village. Bose cried as she thought about how she has lost everything, her wealth, her popularity, just in a twinkle of an eye. She wished she never made that decision she had made that fateful day with the old woman, as regret and shame filled her. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel to enjoy more interesting African tales. Also, share with us on the comment section what you love about the story and the valuable lessons you have learned from this story. Like and share this video to your friends, family and loved ones. Until I come your way again, it's bye.